Hello there folks, my name is Spoonks and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the show break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did. So let's get started. Number 5 was F1, making $9.8 million this weekend, bringing its domestic total to $153 million and its worldwide total to $461 million. Against all odds, F1 continues to do very well. It had the best hold out of any of the holdovers, just falling 28% from last weekend, which is really impressive. Again, it's playing to its strengths, I think. It's standing out on its own. Again, it's in the sea of like animated movies and big sequels. The fact that this is an original movie, I know it has the F1 name, but it's not really based off anything historical or, you know what I mean. But like for an older skewering original movie like this, the fact that it's reached this audience, especially in this crowded part of the summer, is really impressive to see how well it's doing. The word of mouth has been very strong, and because of that, it's on its way to crack 500 million worldwide, which I don't think many people were expecting this movie. I know Formula One is really big internationally, but to see this movie crack these numbers, especially domestically where the sport wasn't really that big initially, shows how it has really grown and how this movie really resonated with a lot of people. Yeah, this is definitely one of the biggest surprises of the summer for sure. Hopefully it can continue to leg out for the remainder of the summer. I think it's got one big movie left to compete against, but if this weekend's anything to go off of, I think it'll do just fine against that. So yeah, another solid weekend for F1. Number 4 was Smurfs, opening with $11 million this weekend domestically and $36 million worldwide. This is the lowest opening for any of the new Smurfs movies, not counting Smurfs and the Magic Flute. It sits behind Smurfs the Lost Village, The Smurfs 2, and The Smurfs. It is the 4th biggest opening for an animated film this year. It topped The Day the Earth Blew Up, but it still sits behind The King of Kings, Elio, and Dogman, and it is the 9th biggest opening for a family film this year. Once again, it topped The Day the Earth Blew Up, but it still sits behind Paddington in Peru, The King of Kings, Elio, Dogman, Snow White, How to Train Your Dragon, Lilo and Stitch, and a Minecraft movie. Yeah, I can't say that I'm surprised, even though I had some optimistic takes about this movie. It was the first animated film in a while, only animated film this month. The big marketing push, there just clearly was not much interest in this movie. Just the movie did not look very promising to many people, and it just turned people away from seeing this. Add on to the fact that with each new Smurfs movie making less than the last, it's just diminishing returns at this point. I don't think anyone is clamoring for the Smurfs to come back. I think the Sony just really caught lightning in a bottle with that first live action movie, really. And with just 2 weeks left until the next animated movie, which is funny enough, The Bad Guys 2, this does not give enough time for this movie to grow or expand, especially when the word of mouth and reception has been quite bad. Critics hate this movie. It's sitting at a 20% on Rotten Tomatoes, and audiences are not fans of this movie either. It got a B+ on CinemaScore. Not great for a kids movie like this. It puts it on par with The Day the Earth Blew Up, Snow White, and Minecraft, and it is the lowest rating out of any of these new Smurfs movies. It's under The Lost Village, which got an A, and the 2 live action ones, which both got A-. The benefit here is that it wasn't expensive. It costed $58 million to make. It's already made a majority of that back, mostly thanks to international numbers, so it'll probably make its budget back, but I think that's where it's just gonna end up. Unfortunately, I just don't see this movie growing again. I think this is a franchise suffering from diminishing returns, just not a lot of people really interested or hyped up to go see this movie. So yeah, a really bad opening, and things ain't looking too strong for this movie down the road either. Number 3 was I Know What You Did Last Summer, opening with $12 million this weekend domestically and $24 million worldwide. This is the lowest opening in the I Know What You Did Last Summer franchise. It sits behind the original and its sequel, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, and it is the 5th biggest opening for a horror film this year. It tops Wolfman, Megan 2.0, The Woman in the Yard, Companion, and Hard Eyes, but it still sits behind The Monkey, 28 Years Later, Sinners, and Final Destination Bloodlines. So I think it's clear that I Know What You Did Last Summer isn't another Scream or Final Destination or even a 28 however long period of time later type movie. It's not one of those where it has this devoted fan base that's grown over the test of time, and people were really clamoring for this new one. Unfortunately, it just didn't seem like, again, much interest in this movie, which is not good, especially when it's a big summer for horror sequels, and there's been lots of those that have really overperformed and shown that they've stood the test of time, again, like Final Destination or 28 years later. It just didn't seem like The Fisherman or these movies really resonate with a lot of people, and there wasn't much, like I said, much interest to see this franchise come back. The marketing was fine. They did a couple cute publicity stunts here and there, but nothing too grand, and the buzz certainly wasn't big enough, unfortunately. The benefit here is that it is a horror movie, so it didn't cost that much to make. It only costed $18 million. It's already made that back worldwide. It's about to double that, so it won't be a total money loser here, but I doubt it. Again, it's not gonna grow or expand, even with it being the only horror movie out right now until Weapons in 3 weeks, considering that, again, like Smurfs, people don't like this movie. Critics aren't fans of it. It's like in the high 30s last I checked on Rotten Tomatoes, and audiences aren't fans of this either. It got a C+ on Cinema Score, which isn't uncommon for a horror movie, but it is also the lowest rating in this franchise. The original got a B-, the sequel got a B, and that is certainly not what you want to see for, again, a franchise you're hoping to bring back, and you can make it into a new set of films like what they're doing with Scream right now. And yeah, this is just really unfortunate. I doubt this movie's going to have legs. Even the successful Horror Legacy sequels had steep drop-offs in their second weekend, so you can only imagine how much this movie's going to fall after this weekend. Yeah, not a horrendous opening, but clearly nothing amazing or anything to write home about here with the start for the movie. Number 2 was once again Jurassic World Rebirth, making $23 million this weekend, bringing its domestic total to $276 million and its worldwide total to $649 million. Jurassic World still hanging in there. It only dropped 41%, although to be fair, it was a much less competitive weekend than the weekend prior, even though there were 2 other big movies, but I digress. This movie still has a foot at the box office. People still love dinosaurs. They still want to go out and see these movies. I don't think it's gonna make as much as the original Jurassic World or Fallen Kingdom. Shocking, I know. But if it can get to Dominion's domestic total, I think that would be a win, and it should be heading there, as again, it's showing that it has the staying power. People really like this movie. They still want to go out and see it. It's on its way to 300 million domestically and 700 million worldwide. We'll see if it can continue the trend of these movies cracking $1 billion. I think it's going to be slowing down a bit, especially this weekend with the big competition. So that'll be interesting to see how it gets affected by that and if it can make the mark. But again, if it can get close to that, I would still call it a win. This movie has shown that this franchise is still here to stay. People still love checking these movies out, and even with facing off against stiff competition like it has, it's shown that it's still a mighty force at the box office, and I think it's still gonna be that even with the competition this coming weekend. So yeah, another solid weekend for Jurassic World Rebirth. And finally, let's end the video off with the number 1 movie of the weekend, which was once again Superman, making $58 million this weekend, bringing its domestic total to $236 million and its worldwide total to $408 million. So Superman held very well, especially for a comic book movie in this day and age, only dropping 53%, which is what you would hope for a comic book movie like this. You typically with these movies, especially now, they've been falling hard, facing the steep drop-offs in their second weekend. So the fact that this movie is able to hold this well is really impressive. The word of mouth has been very strong. Even going by my personal experience, the number of people I know who have just been talking about this movie and saying how much they've been enjoying it and seeing it for the first time or even seeing it again has been really strong. A lot of people I know are still talking about this movie, and the word of mouth is spreading. Again, it's a very solid, very entertaining movie, and people are really resonating with it. It is already the biggest superhero movie of the year, even though there really wasn't much competition up until this point. But yeah, this is a great start. This is a great start. This is a good sign for the DC, the new DC that James Gunn is trying to form. It shows that what is clearly working and what is bringing people to the theater, and this definitely gives hope for the next movies down the road. He even teased Supergirl earlier this week. So yeah, things are looking pretty good for this movie. Even internationally, things are looking strong. It's headed to 200 million internationally, and because of that, it's about to double its $225 million budget worldwide. And I think by the end of this week, we'll see this movie crack 500 million worldwide, which is a great sign for this movie. It's not going to be a Deadpool Wolverine, I don't think, but if it can keep going at this rate, I think it'll do just fine. I think the studio will still be satisfied with how this movie does, although this weekend is going to be very crucial to see where this movie heads further down the road, if it can keep flying high or if it stalls, because there is a very, very big movie. It's probably its biggest competitor this summer in general, so it'll be interesting to see how those two face off of each other. Can they coexist? Will one affect the other? I don't know, but it is definitely something to keep an eye out on, and definitely something to take note of for sure. But as far as Superman is right now, it's still on the right path. It's still flying high. Certainly going to be one of the biggest movies of the summer for sure. I don't know what else to say. It's still looking pretty good for Superman. And those were your top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend, but we're not quite done yet, as we've got another week ahead of us and new movies hitting theaters. And this weekend we have one new major wide release, that film being The Fantastic Four: First Steps, the latest entry in the MCU and the introduction of the Fantastic Four into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The last of the big 3 movies of July, and obviously the last really big movie of the summer. I know August still has a couple of surprises here and there, but in terms of big grand scale blockbusters, this is the one that is ending things off here, and I think it's going to end things off very strong here. This is clearly the big Marvel movie of the year. This is the one that everybody's been hyping up for years. Everybody has been hoping and praying that the MCU would get their hands on Fantastic Four, especially considering that the past couple movies haven't been the best. So this has been something very anticipated, very hyped up for, and people seem to be very excited about this. The cast has been praised, the trailers have been well received, the marketing has been strong thus far. Lots of great stuff I've been seeing for this movie. And again, it has the rest of the summer to itself. No other movie in this film's league. Again, though, first off, Superman just came out, and that's definitely gonna play a factor into this movie's performance. There's gonna be a lot of debate, a lot of comparisons between the two, and Marvel's been up and down lately. I know people like Thunderbolts and Deadpool and Wolverine, but people didn't like Brave New World, people didn't like Quantumania. So again, it's been real up and down in terms of quality. So again, they just really need to nail this movie. If they do, I think the sky's the limit. I don't think it's going to be Deadpool and Wolverine, but I think it will be a very solid hit regardless. If not, then this is probably going to be another disappointment like we saw with Brave New World and Thunderbolts. But I'm hopeful, I'm optimistic. Again, they've been selling the movie well. There's a lot of anticipation, a lot of hype for this movie. I think we're going to see a very strong opening for Fantastic Four. But we'll see how well this movie truly does, as well as the rest of the movies that land in the top 5 on the next Box Office Chat. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you all think of the results? Were you satisfied, unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all those social media links right there. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.